much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this concert with the Grand Rapids Classical Orchestra, and after intermission, the Grand Rapids Youth Symphony. We're delighted that you are sharing your Sunday afternoon with us for some wonderful music. We call the Grand Rapids Classical Orchestra the Classical Orchestra because we focus music on music from the classical era, that's 1750 to about 1800, and preceding that, the music of the Baroque era, the music of Handel and Bach. We do this because this music is foundational to the whole of orchestral music. Very, very important. Not only foundational musically, but it's foundational technically for us as well. This afternoon, we're going to play for you two movements from the First Symphony of Beethoven, which was written in the year 1800. That's the year that historians kind of call the end of the classical era and the beginning of the Romantic era. This is Beethoven's first symphony. He wrote it when he was 30 years old, which is late for a genius. Other people will have written many symphonies before they were 20, and yet Beethoven waited until he was 30. He moved to Vienna in 1792, and for the first 8 years in Vienna, he wrote primarily chamber music and also music for piano. And then at a concert that he gave for himself, what we call an academy, that's a benefit concert for himself, in 1800, he featured this first symphony. This is Mr. Beethoven being classical like Haydn and Mozart. This is Beethoven trying to be clear with his form and charming with his melodies. But even in the year 1800, Beethoven was having difficult containing himself. So the first part of this piece is in the wrong key, which for people back then, they would have noticed it. They would have seen the program, oh, this is a symphony in C major, and they would expect the piece to begin in C major, and it doesn't. It's only when the fast part begins that it goes into C major. I'll be conducting the first movement, and then my associate, Kristen Schopp, will be conducting the fourth movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 1 in C major. first piece that we play for you deserves a little bit of explanation. We're playing the second and third movements of Dmitri Shostakovich's Sixth Symphony. Of all the composers who lived during the 20th century, I find the biography of Shostakovich to be fascinating. In the middle of the 1930s, he wrote an opera called Lady Macbeth of Mtsensk District. This is a Russian composer writing in Russia right at the height of the great Stalin purge in the 1930s. And it turns out that Mr. Stalin himself went to see this opera and hated it. And Mr. Stalin, instead of tweeting his remarks, there was no Twitter back then, actually ghost wrote a newspaper review of the opera. And the title was Muddle Instead of Music. Well, as a result of that review in the newspaper, Dmitri Shostakovich joined the many, many other artists and poets in the Soviet Union in the 1930s who lived in fear of his life. People disappeared if they did stuff that Stalin didn't like. And now that he had done something that Stalin didn't like, he literally lived in fear of his life. There's a new novel out about this called Frozen Time, and it's a fascinating novel to read. It's a historical fiction. Well, in response to this, Shostakovich wrote his Fifth Symphony, and he proclaimed this is an artist's reply to just criticism. And his Fifth Symphony is perhaps his most famous of his 15 symphonies. It's a powerful work. And the last movement of his Fifth Symphony, when performed correctly, in my view, sounds triumphant at the end, but it's a forced sort of triumph. As Semyon Bishkov, the former conductor of the Grand Rapids Symphony, said, "We're smiling. See, we're happy. We're smiling. We're happy." And then Shostakovich said that he worked on his Sixth Symphony after the Fifth, of course, and that this Sixth Symphony is really a picture of the mood that he was in following the Fifth Symphony. Now, we're not playing the first movement for you this afternoon. One reason is that the first movement alone takes about 30 minutes, and it's really slow, and it's really dark. The violin and the cello players, there's minutes of playing a single trill very quietly. Just minutes of this, and over that there were some very, very dark woodwind solos. We're not doing that for you. You have to go onto YouTube and listen to that yourself. But we are playing the second and third movements. And normally when I hear Shostakovich, I can hear his biography in the music. But to be totally honest with you, I don't know how these two movements fit into his biography. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much. We have a little stage set here. Violins, you violins can need to stand up and move while we bring out a piano. What's that? No, just those people back there. The next piece of music that we're going to play for you is an American icon. It, more than perhaps any other piece of music that was written in the United States by an American composer, the Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin, is at the top of the list. It seems to define who and what American music is. But this piece of music almost didn't happen. George and his brother Ira Gershwin were sitting down at breakfast one day, and they were reading the newspaper. And the newspaper was announcing a new concert that was coming up, put together by Paul Whiteman, who labeled himself the king of jazz. The Paul Whiteman Orchestra was a jazz orchestra in the 1920s. And Paul Whiteman was putting together a concert that he called an experiment in modern music. And the purpose of this concert was to answer the question, what is American music? And there were going to be all sorts of composers on this concert. Zez Confrey was going to feature his piece called Kitten on the Keys. Edward McDowell, who was a pianist composer, had To a Wild Rose on it. Strangely, the graduation march that we all know and love, Pomp and Circumstance, by the English composer Edward Elgar, that was on that concert too, don't know why. And there was even going to be a discussion of the famous American tune, Yes, We Have No Bananas. But the newspaper article that George and Ira were reading at breakfast said this: George Gershwin is at work on a jazz concerto. Irving Berlin is writing a syncopated tone poem, and Victor Herbert is working on an American suite. Well, the problem is that George Gershwin had no idea that he was supposed to be writing something for this concert. He had talked about it with Paul Whiteman. They had bandied about the idea, and he thought that was the last of it. And then the next thing he knew, there he was in the newspaper, and he was writing some sort of jazz concerto. This was a month before the concert. Well, George Gershwin got on a train to go up to Boston to work on one of his many musicals that was being previewed up in Boston. And on that trip up to Boston, he basically wrote out what we now know as the Rhapsody in Blue. He was a very smart man. He was a great jazz pianist and a pianist. And so it's pretty incredible that he put it together so quickly. He says that the rattle of the train, the rhythm of the train wheels, actually gave him the inspiration for this piece. So the rest is history. That piece was premiered at that concert, An Experiment in American Music, in 1924. And this instantly became the defining piece of music for American crossover jazz, classical piano playing. It's so interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I've been conducting the Grand Rapids Youth Symphony now for about 29 years. And in that 29 years, we have carried on the tradition of a piano concerto competition every year. The competition actually goes for probably 50 years. And I so distinctly remember many decades ago talking with the judges of that piano competition, and one of the students in the competition had played the Rhapsody in Blue. And one of those judges said, I will never let this piece win a concerto competition. It's not a legitimate piece of music. Those are the exact words out of that piano judge. I will not tell you that person's name. Well, attitudes have changed. Once again this year, we have had a piano concerto competition. There were some outstanding soloists. Our third place winner was Maya Boone. Our second place winner was Daniel Cushman. I don't know if they're in the house. If they are, I'd like to have them stand and be acknowledged by us. If not, we'll just acknowledge. Stand up and let us applaud. We're going to tune to the piano, and then we'll announce our soloist. won't you please welcome the winner of the 2017 Grand Rapids Youth Symphony Piano Concerto Competition, Mara Logan. While we move the piano off, I would like to introduce you to the fact that for our winter concert, we have a 200-minute practice challenge where we send out to schools and students the challenge to practice 200 minutes in preparation for the upcoming solo and ensemble and also band festival. This year, 214 students registered with us, studying under 42 different teachers representing 25 West Michigan music programs, and they practiced a total of 130,114 minutes and earned a total of 549 tickets to come to today's concert. Let's congratulate them. So we have a little drawing because once you come here, you not only get great music, but you also have the opportunity to get some great prizes in this 200-minute practice challenge of 2017. I'm going to draw the grand prize right now, but I'm not going to announce it. This right here, underneath my foot, is the grand prize winner. They're going to win an iPad Air number 2. An iPad Air 2. I guess. That's the grand prize winner. Here is our prize number 1. It is a Peak music stand. I should say that prizes can be picked up right here at the stage after the concert. Shannon Gibbons, Lowell Middle School, practiced 820 minutes. She gets a Peak music stand. For a $50 gift certificate from Meyer Music, Benjamin Smith from the homeschool building, 818 minutes. Here is a $50 gift certificate from Marshall Music, Lowell Middle School, 400 minutes, Kira Sandman. Here's a $50 gift certificate to Schuler's, to McKenna Behrman of Homeschool Building, 1,680 minutes. I still haven't come up with my name yet, because I haven't practiced 200 minutes. Here's another $50 Schuler gift certificate, Andrew Lash from Homeschool, 1,200 minutes. Prize number 6, a music stand light from Grand Rapids Violins. This goes to Kate Werman, Homeschool, 445 minutes. By the way, I just want to remark that Price Waterhouse has not been doing this. Here's a $100 gift certificate from Meyer Music. Wow! Now, how can this be? How can I have called the same name twice? Can I do that? I don't think so. I've seen that name before. So here's a Meyer gift certificate, and it goes to Ryan Whitaker, Spring Lake Intermediate School, 600 minutes. Here's another Meyer gift certificate for $100. Annika Baker from Grand Rapids Christian Middle School, 405 minutes. All right, this 9th prize is for an iPod Touch device. Savannah Escobedo from Lowell Middle School, 690 minutes. And here is another iPod Touch device, number 10, and this goes to Anna Stahl, Westside Christian, 830 minutes. Oh, and now it's the grand prize for the iPad Air 2, and that winner is Ian Barrington from Lowell Middle School, 609 minutes. Looks like Lowell Middle School has been practicing a lot. Of the 42 participating teachers, we have a winning teacher as well, who gets a $100 gift certificate to the Gilmore Collection of Restaurants. And this year's winner is Wendy March. Congratulations, Wendy. We also want to thank Marshall Music, Meyer Music, the Grand Rapids Violin, and the Skip Gates Foundation for their generous donations for this challenge. Thank you so much. I have one more thing to give away, and this is the actual cash winnings that Mara gets also, in addition to playing with the Youth Symphony. So congratulations once again, Mara. Well, we have one more piece to play for you. This is a piece by Richard Strauss called Tod und Verklärung, which is translated to Death and Transfiguration. Richard Strauss is the composer who wrote the most challenging music for orchestras ever. Every line in this piece of music, or any piece by Richard Strauss, is like a solo for the players. It is absolute tour de force writing for orchestras. Richard Strauss is one of 2 or 3 composers in the 19th century who developed something called a tone poem. And that is a piece of orchestral music without any words sung to it that's meant to tell a story or to portray a picture or to portray a specific mood. Without the idea of tone poems developed in the 19th century, we would not have movie music where that's what that does all the time. So Richard Strauss wrote all sorts of tone poems. One was called Don Juan, about that famous lover boy of the 18th century, Don Giovanni, Don Juan. Another one was called Ein Heldenleben, which is the story of a hero's life. Actually, it was his own life. He wrote a tone poem called Also sprach Zarathustra, which is about the philosophy of Nietzsche. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The philosophy of Nietzsche. Oh, he wrote one called Eine Alpen Symphony, which is a tone poem about a journey up to the peak of a mountain and back down. Well, this one is called Tod und Verklärung, Death and Transfiguration, and he gives us actual words about what this is about. And he felt that these words were very important, so they would normally be printed in a program. I'm going to read them to you right now, and then we're going to play it. In a small, poverty-stricken room, only dully illuminated by a candle end, lies a sick man on his cot. He has just struggled once again with death in wild desperation. Now, exhausted, he is sunk into a deep sleep, and the quiet ticking of the clock on the wall is all you can hear in the room, in which the fearful silence is a premonition of the approach of death. Around the features of the sick man plays a sorrowful smile. At the confines of life, is he dreaming for the golden days of childhood? But death does not grant its victim sleep and dreams for very long. It shakes him awake cruelly and starts the battle anew. The urge for life and the power of death. What a horrible struggle until he has matured for the manly battle which now blazes forth in hot joy with life's highest benefits at its stake. To take everything that ever seemed transfigured and to mold it into an even more transfigured shape, this alone is the noble impulse that accompanies him through life. Coldly and scornfully, the world places one barrier after another in the path of his efforts. Whenever he believes he is near his goal, he is greeted by a thunderous halt. Turn the barrier into a rung by which to rise even higher and higher. Thus he strives, thus he climbs, does not abandon his sacred impulse. What he has sought all this time with his heart's deepest longing, he still seeks while bathed in mortal sweat, seeks, but alas, cannot find it. Even if he conceives of it more clearly, even if it gradually grows upon him, still he can never exhaust its possibilities, can never consummate it in his mind. Then the last blow of death's iron hammer rings out, breaks the earthly body in two, and covers his eyes with the night of death. But he hears mightily a sound from heaven, that which he sought here longingly. redemption, transfiguration.